Warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Halo guys. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Udah assalamualaikum, jadi lupa. Oke, anak-anak kelas 3 apa kabarnya? Mudah-mudahan baik-baik aja, semuanya sehat-sehat, semuanya happy terus. And I'm come back again in English lesson, but before we begin our lesson today, let's say basmalah. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. First of all, I want to apologize because I cannot come to your class. That because I have a practical exam in the 6th grade. So today, on this week, I'm sorry. So this week, I cannot come to your class, but I promise next week I will come to your class, okay? It's okay, right? Okay, but don't worry, I still recording my video, so you can still learning and studying with me without any hesitation, and you will not get any loss from my absence. Oke, maaf ya. Oke, jadi kita akan terus belajar karena saya sudah membuat rekaman video ini, tapi jangan lupa untuk subscribe, like, dan komen. Oke guys, kita mulai belajar. Hari minggu ini kita akan belajar tentang ada WhatsApp. Oke, kita akan mulai belajar. Minggu ini kita akan belajar tentang pemakaian kata negatif pada kata past time. Tapi saya punya cerita terlebih dahulu. Dengarkan yuk. Oke guys, jadi saya akan bacakan ceritanya. Ini bukunya dari buku Penser, yaitu judulnya adalah The Walkaway Shoes and Other Stories by Enid Blyton. Ini adalah one of my favorite author. Kalau di Amerika, biasanya sebelum belajar dibacakan dulu cerita. Jadi kalian simak dulu, nanti setelah itu boleh ada pertanyaan ya. Ngerti nggak ngerti, dengerin dulu. Oke, oke. Judulnya adalah The Tale of Bob the Bunny. There was once a bunny called Bob. He was very thin and longed for everyone to look at him and admire him. His whiskers were long, his ears were big, and his fur was thick. The only thing he didn't like was his tail. It was just a furry blob like all rabbits' tails, but Bob wanted a big tail, one like Bashir the squirrel, or a long one like Pushcat's. It has horrid to have a little bobtail that nobody took any notice of at all. Then one day, when he was out in the woods, he found a lovely long white tail. It had belonged to a toy cat that a little boy had taken for a walk. The tail had caught in a bramble and fallen off, so the little boy had left it there. Bob picked it up and looked at it. He was exactly the kind of tail he had so often wanted. He would take it home, try it on, and see how it looked. So off he went, clippity, through the wood, and ran down his hole. When he was safely down there, he tied the long white tail onto his own, and then looked over his shoulder to see what it was like. Bob has a different tail that he really wants to have the beautiful tail, and he found it. Yeah, he found it. My, he said, I look great. Yes, I do. I shall have this tail for my own and pretend to everyone that it is real. No one will know, and they will all admire me and be jealous. I shall be the only rabbit with a long tail. He stayed in his hole for a few days, and when his friends came to see what was the matter, he put his head out and answered them very proudly. I'm growing a long tail, he said. I hear it's quite the fashion now. It's only half grown yet, but as soon as it is full grown, I'll show it to you. Well, all the rabbits were most astonished. They asked each other whether anyone had heard of a long-tailed bunny before, but no one ever had. They began to think that Bob was making fun of them. So they waited anxiously for the day to come when he would come and play with them again. On the seventh day, Bob the bunny came out of his hole. He had tied on the toy cat's tail very firmly so that it quite hit his own bobtail. As he lolloped out of his hole, all the rabbits cried out in the surprise. Yes, he's grown a long tail. Yes, he has. Come and look, everybody, Bob has a long tail. Not only the rabbits came to see, but the foxes and weasels, sparrows and thruses, hedgehog and moles. The foxes and weasels were not allowed to come too near, for the rabbits hated them, but they came quite near enough to see the wonderful long tail. How proud Bob was! He hopped about here and there, showing off his long tail, enjoying all the cries of surprise and envy. How did you do it, Bob? Asked the other rabbits. Tell us and we will do the same. Bob knew quite well that they couldn't do the same because it was only a pretty tail. But he couldn't tell them that, of course. So he sat down and looked very wise. All you've got to do, he said, is to sit at home in your burrow, think about that 7 days, and then at the end of that time, you will have one as good as mine. Well, the silly rabbits believed him. They all went to their burrows and sat at home for 7 days thinking of nothing but tails. But alas for them, when they came out again, the tails were as short as ever. They were dreadfully disappointed. You are stupid creatures. You are stupid creator, said Bob. Sorry, berubah. I'm sorry. Curling his whisker. I'm the cleverest of all of you. Why don't you make me your king? It would be nice for you to have long-tailed rabbit for a king, wouldn't it? Now, not many rabbits liked Bob, for he was so vain. But he was so determined to be king that at last they thought they had better make him their chief. So they all set out to go to Breezy Hill where they held their important meetings. They sat around in a ring with Bob in the middle and the oldest rabbit by him. Friends, said the oldest rabbit, you are met together today to decide whether Bob the bunny shall be your king or not. He is the only long-tailed rabbit in our town. He have all tried to grow tails like his, and we cannot. Therefore, it seems as if he must be the cleverest among us. Shall we make him king? But before the listening rabbit could answer, a red fox came slinking up. He had smelled the rabbit from far off and had come to see if he could pick one of them up for his dinner. They saw him coming over the hilltop, and with one frightened look, they took to their heels and fled. But Bob fled too, his long tail dragged on the ground behind him. But he had forgotten all about it. All he thought of was his hole, his lovely, safe, cozy hole. If only he could get there before the red fox caught him. The fox chose to chase Bob, for he was fat and could not run quite so fast as the other. So off he went after poor Bob. All the other rabbits reached their holes safely and popped their heads out to watch the rest. Nearer and nearer the fox came till he was almost on top of Bob. Then he suddenly made a snatch at the rabbit's long tail and got it in his mouth. Oh, no, Bob is caught, cried all the watching rabbits. But the string that tied the long tail on the Bob suddenly broke, and Bob raced on free while the astonished fox stopped still with the tail in his mouth. My, oh my, sang out the rabbits. Why Bob got a short tail as well as a long tail? Just look, there his little bobtail, just like ours. So there was quite plain to see as Bob ran helter-skelter for his hole. Down he popped in safety and lay there panting. How glad he was that his long tail had only been a pleasant one. The frog gave one chew at the pleasant tail and then blew it out of his mouth. Up he went in disgust. When he was safely out of sight, the rabbits all come crowding out to see the tail. They soon found out that it was nothing but a toy cat's tail, and how cross they were. To think that we all sat in our burrows for 7 days thinking of nothing but tails, cried the oldest rabbit. And we nearly made that wicked rabbit our king. And how foolish we should have been if we had grown long tails, said another. Why the frog could catch us easily if our tail were any longer? Where's that stupid bunny? Cried all the rabbits. Let us go and find him. So up they went to Bob Burrow and dragged him out. They gave him a good scolding so that both his ear drooped and his eye filled with tears. And that was the end of Bob being so vain. If ever he showed any sign of being proud again, someone would say to him, Well, Bob, have you grown another long tail yet? And then Bob would go very red and run away. Okay, that's the story. Now we are going to the lesson. Okay, check it out. Do you want to have a question about the story? Go to the chat box and let me know what do you think about this story. Bob long Bob, yeah. Okay, you can get this book on the Grammaria and you can ask your mom or your dad, Mom, please buy me Enid Blyton story. Okay, go to the Grammaria right now. Go to the bookstore. Okay, now we are going to the lesson. Let's check it out.